with us this week from the Opportunity Foundation are Lou England and Curtis Espino. The Opportunity Foundation provides work skills development, community job coaching, residential caregiving, and more to Central Oregonians with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Give you them.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it. And I will say, Carl hits us up for a basket for the vintner dinner every year, so we did contribute in some small way to that. So hopefully that made a little money.
Several good bids.
All right. Curtis is in there, and he doesn't want to talk, and that's fine, Curtis. But I thought it was Curtis is the manager of our Redmond thrift store, and he really does an outstanding job. So I just thought it'd be great to bring him along, and so you can, if you see him in there and you want a good deal, he's the man. All right. But I had a slideshow prepared with some great pictures on this huge TV, but that's all right. It's better to wing it anyway, so I'm just going to do that real quick. But I did want to also really thank Don, and he was on our board. I asked him how long. He said it 35 years plus. And so that's a real reflection of the Opportunity Foundation. And I think one of the challenges that we're facing now is that there's a lot of new people who have moved into Central Oregon that don't realize how tied we've been to the community here and how, how there's been such a tight relationship. So Don wanted to.
One thought is this Kiwanis Club was involved in the Opportunity Foundation, the construction, the funding, all of the activity were on there before I got here. But the story is we've been rooted in that organization from its very beginning. So I'm actually the past president of the club, and the original executive director of the foundation. So we have roots in this. The story is real. So
thank you, Don. So, and Don, I'm not that much older than 35 years, so that's a long time. Man. No, I'm 43. So I did want to say real quick, anybody know how many nonprofits are in Oregon? Take a guess. What do you think, Chris?
12,000.
27,000 and some change. I just looked it up. So there's actually about a couple thousand in Central Oregon, believe it or not. So for a guy like me or our organization, what makes us any better than anybody else, and what makes us worthy of your time or consideration? And I would think that one of the things that I did want to say, and Don kind of emphasized that, is the history we've had in Central Oregon and Redmond specifically. I really believe that our success or failure, a lot of it's going to be dependent on the Redmond community going forward and how well we are a part of the community. And how well, like I said, one of the challenges we've had is there's so many new people that don't really appreciate what Don just said, the story that we have, and how ingrained in how Rotary and Kiwanis and the community came together and supported the Opportunity Foundation when it first started, and how unique it was. So if you don't know, we started out as a school for children with disabilities, which was really just a community-driven thing. There wasn't state funding for those things at the time. There wasn't any of those opportunities. But our founder, Walt Franks, and then the original board, started the organization. And since 1965, this is actually our 60th anniversary, which that's a pretty good amount of time. A lot of things have changed. And we've had some changes in the way we do business, but a lot of the core things are there. And I was sitting here thinking for myself, my background, military officer, I'm still in the Navy Reserve. I worked in supply chain management at a manufacturer, actually that way, pretty big one. Why would I work at the Opportunity Foundation? I'm looking at Curtis. He's had a lot of different jobs. He didn't go to school for social work or anything like that. So why are we there? It's because of the work that we do. We care about the impact that we can have on people, just like you guys care about impacting children. We really care about providing opportunities and to adults with disabilities now. So that's really why we're there. So I think what sets us apart is our history. We really have been, and we've got the plaque there in Centennial Park here in Redmond, but we've really been here through a lot of challenges, and a lot of the community helped us to be founded. So I'd really like that to even become more so in the future, be a part of Redmond. also, you know, what we do sets us apart. So we actually, there isn't another I love our thrift store because we provide job training. We can pay people. It's pretty hard to pay people in job training minimum wage now. Have you realized? It's pretty expensive. It's going up to $15.05 on July 1st, minimum wage in the state of Oregon. But we've taken the challenge, and Curtis manages a lot of that individuals in our job training program, and right now there's about 60, we pay them minimum wage to do that. So we're the only ones that do that. We're the only ones that provide that opportunity here on this side of the mountains. And we have 10 homes around Redmond that provide care for adults that need it 24 hours or based on what they need. We've done that for a long time. So we really are impact. These are Central Oregonians that we're serving. You know, we're our only local organization that impacts. We're not a largely affiliated. We're just Central Oregon. But we do some great services. So I mentioned our residential. About 2/3 of our employees work in one of our, we have about 120 employees, if you didn't realize that. We're a pretty big nonprofit. They work in that 24-hour residential care kind of setting. Obviously have people with big hearts because it's a difficult job sometimes. During COVID, there was a lot of people that worked 70, 80 hours a week because when someone there needs to be someone there, right? So they did it. They don't have to do that anymore, thankfully, but those are the kind of people that work for us. And so that's a big part of what we do is the residential program. You can't really see that. You can go to our thrift store. You might see some of the people that live in a residential home at our thrift store working, but that's something that kind of happens behind the scenes here in the community. What I was hired to do was to help people get a place to work. I used to work at Chase Doors over here as a supply chain manager, and I hired some people in to work there, and I really loved it. And so that's why I work here. So we have business type partnerships with about 30, it ebbs and flows, 30 businesses in Central Oregon where we help, they kind of make the decision to try to hire someone and give them a job, and we provide resources, coaching, help to make that successful. So 2 really great ones we just added on. I don't see where'd Ron go if he stepped out? From the senior center. I know I think he's the president of the senior center board. A young lady named Karen who worked at our thrift store. And then if you guys were at the coffee clatter that we host there, we love doing that. Please come. We give a great discount, 50% off every year. She got an award for her excellence in one of the programs there, and then afterwards the senior center offered her a job because she had actually gone and volunteered at the senior center. Through the thrift store there, we take individuals out to volunteers at a number of different nonprofits every week. So Karen had gone and volunteered at the senior center, so now she's working there. So that's one example. There's a young man named Waylon who has had a lot of different jobs that we've helped him with, and he just started working at Michael's. So if you go in Michael's Monday through Wednesday, you might see him in there in Bend. And then there's we work with a gentleman named John who's now working at BaseX. He's a great story. He actually got laid off from a previous job, and then he came back and he did our job training program again, and then he was able to get hired on as BaseX as a welder's apprentice, but now he's gone through and he's now a certified welder, which obviously he can do well and make a good wage doing that, and he also is driving a forklift over there and he was the employee of the month last August. For BaseX has 1,000 employees. He was the employee of the month. So that's pretty outstanding, right? What do you think, Chris? Pretty good? All right. So those are just some stories that we can say of things that are going on in the community. Like I said, I also really appreciate that we can be a nonprofit ourselves, and we take people to go work at 4 other nonprofits. We do that at the Senior Center, the Central Oregon Veterans Ranch. You all been out there before. Several different places. We do that in Madras also. We have a store in Madras if you weren't aware of that also. Let's see what else I have down here. Partnerships. We do have some great partnerships that we're looking to develop more. The De Leon Corporation, Dawn would know since Sam, you probably knew Sam. I never met Sam De Leon, but was a long-standing community member, and they continue to be a financial supporter and just a great partner for us. There's a young man named Steven that works over there in their label making facility. And then BaseX has we've had more of a relationship with them, and there's a number of others, TDS and other groups that we are trying to partner with. But the one big thing I did want to let everybody know about, if you haven't heard, that we are, we've been around for 60 years, and I'm not, maybe Don's aware, we don't think we've ever done a golf event. We're going to have a golf event this year as a fundraiser. So I have this information here. It's on June 27th. If a group from Kiwanis wants to come and volunteer to help us, we'd love to have it. If you guys, or if there's if you know any golfers or any teams that want to be enrolled, there's information for that. But it is a challenging time for nonprofits in general, and so we're looking to find other ways to support our organization. And that's one way to do it, is to just find other means of funding. But please come to our store. Curtis does an outstanding job over there with the staff and trying to prepare people for a next job, or if you know somewhere where an individual might have a chance to work. And when I say work, it could be 5 hours a week doing some small tasks. It could be 40 hours a week. It's not all what we would traditionally think is employment, like a 40-hour job. There's different people have different goals. So any questions, or Curtis, did I miss anything?
Sounds pretty good.
Yes, sir.
A couple of things that you might know, but just from the standpoint of history, the preschool program that you run over in there, that was a program that we...
Right, I remember you telling, I was here a couple years ago, I remember you pointing that out, and that's outstanding. Thank you for that.
And so that's great. We're glad to have opportunities like this at the Opportunity Center.
Right.
Also, Kiwanis runs a group, just in case you ever have an opportunity, called the Action Clubs. And Action Clubs are Kiwanis clubs for people with disabilities.
I didn't know that.
And so it's a social activity, and oftentimes these kids and these young people have that need to be able to be part of something bigger than themselves, and then to give back in some small way. So if you ever have a person who is willing to step up and say, I would like to try to put one of these together, please come and let us know.
Right.
This is a group of people in our community who are here, and oftentimes they're unseen.
Is there currently an action club? Yeah. Is there currently an action club, or is that something that could be organized? Okay, great.
Action Club here now, in Redmond?
Where?
No, I'm asking.
Oh, no, there is not.
Well, that sounds like a good opportunity Curtis and I could look into, maybe partnering with Kiwanis to do that. That sounds like a great thing. I had something else I wanted to say, and I just lost it. Shoot. Well, I would, yes, Chris.
One thing I'm just curious, because I think, you guys get a lot of notoriety for the retail locations, but like the houses, provide a pretty significant need for our community. I'm just kind of curious, like, if you guys didn't do that, where would those folks go?
Good question. So there actually is a limited amount of, it's actually I've fashioned myself to be pretty good at business and stuff. It's a typical business we're in generally. So like there's other providers in the state of Oregon, but that number goes down. It's challenging to be successful. Part of the reason we are successful is the long history we've had, and the good decisions that board members have made for 30 years and things like that, is that we are a very stable organization. But to answer your question, there are limited places where people could go. You're right, and especially if they want to stay in Central Oregon, they might not have the opportunity. They might be, have to move to the Portland area, or if we didn't have that place available for them. We do have a strategic goal to open a couple new houses over the next couple of years, also, because there is need.
How many homes do you have?
There's 10 now. They kind of changed we retracted one in the last year, but then we're reopening one, and we do have a goal to have a couple more, Dawn. One of the houses that was historically open for a while closed during COVID, and then we're trying to, part of it is getting enough staff and everything to be able to reestablish it and do all there's a lot of requirements from the state to license the program and meet all the standards and things like that. But
Would we know those as group homes?
Yes, that's one of the terms that people would use it traditionally for. I can't remember what the current in vogue term is for, but those things change. But the point is that it's a home, it's their home. We just provide the support for people to live there. We basically are just a resource to them to be able to do that. Go ahead, Don.
What kind of an annual budget do you have now?
It's fairly large, maybe $9 million total in expenditures. So a lot of that is payroll. Like I said, 120 employees, and then we pay And that's all public informational, public available information on our 990 and things. But yeah, it's a pay clients at the thrift store. But by far the biggest expense we have is, part of, trying to provide the staff that do work for us a competitive wage so that they can live here. It's expensive. That's a challenge for sure as well. I did want to say one more thing, really cool, and going back to what Dawn said. So there's the city's developing, or next door, does everybody know where our administrative office is on 126 over there? So across the street, they're working on that bypass or whatnot. ODOT was there basically. And ODOT it was required that a state historian make sure there's no impact, that isn't understood. So this woman was so interested in the Walt Franks building that she actually took it on herself to do a lot of research in it, and was really impressed by this woman. Her name's Larissa. She's a historian with the ODOT. The way that Redmond, like Dawn had said, organized to do that in the first place. And so she just did a lot of independent study on it above her job, just on how exceptional that was at the time, and how innovative the school was, and how ahead of any requirement by federal or state rules or anything. It was just that the community decided that they wanted to do something for these children, and that's what they did. So it's actually really, really neat.
Nationally so recognized. Ron Bryant was really a champion of that whole activity. Excuse me. It was so well recognized nationally. It was nominated, and he became one of 10 outstanding young men of America.
I didn't realize that. So pretty cool. Last story I'll tell you about that building is that I actually got a call from the architectural professor at the University of Oregon, because the architect that designed the building is very famous, and I can't remember them, and they did the work pro bono, and so they wanted to take a graduate student is studying that architectural firm, so they actually came up last Saturday to just look at the building, because it is very unique. So if anybody, currently there is a child care facility, Cooley and Hughes, that is using it for similar to the original purpose. It's a child care resource for the community. So right. So if you guys want a field trip over there, just let me know. We'll set it up. Any other questions? I really appreciate the time. Curtis has got 25% off gift cards for anybody that wants to come by the store. I'm so gracious that we'll pass them around. We'll stack that on top of discount. So if you come on Senior Day, that's already 25% off. Bring your card. All right. So thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Hold on a second here.
Yeah.
I've got something for you. And who's going to take a picture? We're getting closer. Oh, okay. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Ron.
Appreciate it. And
all right, guys. Again, thank you so much, guys, for showing up and making a quorum so we could get the elections done and complete. So your president is Dave Schluckabier. Your president-elect is Jane McGuire. Your vice president write-in is Chris Ritchie. Your treasurer is John Duff.
who wrote that in? Who wrote that in?
6 people.
6 people.
It's not a quorum.
Yeah.
It's not a quorum.
So your board of directors are Dave Shirley, Katie Mercer, Tom Mooney, John Early, Susie Helfer, Ted Jones, and Todd Unger. And Dan Tippy will continue on the Redmond Foundation. Thank you, everybody.
Get that.